we're gonna talk about cabinets right now, and if you'll look at the blackboard, you'll see that I have put up two different types of cabinets, the contemporary cabinet and the traditional cabinet. Cabinets are nothing more than big storage boxes, and they're filled with shelves and drawers, and then some of them have doors to cover the shelves or the drawers. In this day and age, most of these big boxes are made out of plywood. And if you're making cabinets and you're working with plywood, I would strongly recommend that you read the little essay that I put up called Plywood, The Choices You Make, because there is some things happening in the industry right now that you really should be aware of. That said, when you make these boxes, you're putting together plywood with simple dados, rabbets, and grooves. The major difference between traditional cabinets and contemporary cabinets is contemporary cabinets leave off a face frame. You just have the edges of the box showing as the front of the cabinet. In traditional cabinets, which really evolved from traditional furniture making, you have a face frame on the front which creates the holes for your drawers and doors and access to your shelves. Now, this is a cabinet that Drew has been working on for the past couple of weeks. He's going to use it as a bathroom cabinet. There are three sections to this cabinet, as you can see, two dividers dividing it into three places. These two sections on the outside will be filled with drawers, but the drawers won't be showing on the outside. Drew's actually going to cover them with a door right here. We'll be showing you this cabinet from time to time as it progresses, so you'll get to see a lot more of it. Look at this door, if you would. Let's see, which camera am I on? Is it on the A, B, A, B? Okay, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Can you believe this is going in a bathroom? Okay, this is a piece of walnut crotch that I laid up about 10 years ago, and we decided to get it out of the barn and see how it looked, and it looked just great. Now this is one pearl. Ooh, isn't that pretty? You'll notice that the middle of this cabinet actually stands out from the rest. This is called a breakfront. It is a completely American form of furniture design. The breakfront was developed in the late 1600s, early 1700s by cabinet. It was favored by cabinet makers in New England, especially in Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts, and became our first truly American furniture form. Well, that's not being fair to you folks out west, because the first truly American furniture form was Southwest furniture. It became our second, first Eastern American furniture form. Anyway, in addition to the front of the middle section being proud and making this into a break front, Drew also decided to curve the break front. So this is actually a bow front break front. Say that 7 times quickly. But the face frame here is made from parts that have to be curved. The doors. Let me get this burled walnut door up again. This door actually has a curve to it, as you can see. The panel has to be curved. The door has to match the just about fit here. There we go. The door has to match the curve of the rails. Everything has to fit together. This is give you an idea what this is going to be like. It's going to be a really nice piece. Anyway, the curves are what make this distinct. And I'm going to shove this out of the way for a little bit and show you how we made those curves. Okay. We decided that to bend this wood, we would do laminate bending. As you're well aware of, there are many other ways to bend wood. You can cut kerfs in it, and actually we did some kerf cutting also. You can cut kerfs in it and make it more flexible. You can steam it. Low pressure steam will make it bendable. Or you can put it in high pressure ammonia, and ammonia will make it bendable. And in fact, ammonia makes it like a limp noodle. But laminate bending is probably the easiest of the bending methods, and one that takes the least amount of time. Now let me talk to you first about how to make a laminate bending jig. By laminate, I'm talking about layers. Okay, we're taking layers of wood. In this case, they've all been run down to approximately 1/8 of an inch, and we put them in a mold. Then press it into the mold with cawls and clamps, and squeeze these pieces together with glue in between. And when the glue dries, what used to be a straight piece of wood will become a curved piece of wood. Way and take this out. There you go. Okay. 2 hours ago, folks, this was a curved piece of wood, and I glued it up, and as you can see, it's now holding the curve. It's just a simple mold here. There's the curve that I want with the holes for the clamps, and this is the set of cawls that presses it down onto the mold. All of this is made from a single piece of wood. What I did first of all is I glued up a block of plywood, 2 1/4 inches thick, slightly thicker than the pieces that I'm bending. All right, this piece was once part of it. I marked the inside curve that I wanted to make, the outside curve that I wanted to make, and then I marked 2 more curves. One 1 1/4 inches in from the inside curve, and 1 1/4 inches in from the outside curve. The 1 1/4 inches out, the outer curve, became the top surfaces of the cawls that I cut out of plywood. These in cutting these cawls, I cut them into 3-inch lengths and then cut wedges out in between them so that they can kind of fold like this, and we'll show why that's necessary later on. This piece is just waste, it's scrap. This piece became the mold, and I drilled, and the holes are made along the inside curve that's 1 1/4 inches from here. This is the holes are 1 1/4 inches, just wide enough to get a clamp here. Back here. Now, once this has been you've made this. One of the things that you're going to have to worry about is the fact that the glue may stick to it. What I did is I just finished this with ordinary wax. this wasn't left in the clamp long enough for the glue to completely dry, so you can just scrape it off. But if it had dried, it would have just peeled off the waxed portion. Now, because we're going to do a little bit of gluing up later on, I'm going to wax this again. Now, I'll just take some ordinary paste wax the areas where the glue might stick. No need to buff it out. A little bit on the caul, although that's put together with duct tape. That won't stick either. What I did to make this caul, by the way, is I laid these out, put a piece of duct tape across them, and then wrapped each one individually with duct tape so that it makes kind of a tambour. Okay, that's ready to go. Now here's the problem. When I press this into the mold and let this cure, okay, when I take it out of the mold, there is some spring back. You can notice that this rocks a little bit. It actually has lost some of the curve that I wanted. The reason for this is that the wood is under tension. That the fibers are being bent in a direction that they really don't want to go, and as a result, when you take this back, some of that bend comes out. If you need a precise bend, if you need to match something, how do you match the curve that you want? On something as simple as this, you probably would just live with what you got. Drew wanted the curve to be 24 inches long. The curved portion is 24 inches long. That's called the chord. And he wanted it to protrude 1.5 inches. That's the height of the curve. When we originally did this, we found that there was some spring back. We could have just made all the pieces, and all the pieces, since they're made out of the same species of wood, they all would have sprung back approximately the same way, and the curves would have all been the same. No big deal. But in this case, we had cut the bottom shelf already to the curve that he wanted, and there was quite a gap. So we decided to go the extra mile and do precision arcs and show you how we did it. This right here is the first jig we made. Okay, this is the curve that Drew wanted. Okay, and these are the cauls. We glued up this piece of scrap wood, and as you can see, there's some spring back on this. It doesn't quite fit the curve. It sprung back. And then what we did is we measured the sprung back chord and height. Now, if you'll go to the let's see, it would be 3, 4, and 5 on the blackboard, you'll find some mathematical formulas. The first one tells you how to calculate the radius of a curve when all you know is the chord and the height. The formula is, and I have to look at my cheat sheet here because I don't have it in my head, is R, the radius equals the length of the chord squared plus 4 times the height squared divided by 8 times the height. Just a little bit of trigonometry there. And believe me, you will thank me eventually for giving you that formula if you don't already have it. It comes in handy, not just in bending, but lots of things that you may do. With the arc that Drew originally made was 48 3/4 inches in radius. When we measured this piece and applied the formula, we found out that it had sprung back, it had relaxed to about 52 inches. So he lost better than 3 inches off his original radius. So the next step is to find out just what percentage he lost, and to do that, go to number 4, and you will see the formula. You take the radius that you got, the radius of the wood, and you subtract the radius that you wanted. So 52 minus 48 3/4. You divide that by the radius that you got, and you get the percentage of springback, which in this case was about 6.2, 6.3%. That's quite a bit, really. That means that he's losing 1/16 of the arc every time he makes a glue up here with 6 layers of walnut. So now take this. This has a 52-inch arc, but you want a 48 3/4 inch arc. So take 48 3/4, okay, and take that times the springback that you expect, which is 6.3%. Okay, so you'll multiply it by 0.063, and you then subtract that from 48 3/4, and you get a radius of 45 and 45/64, to be precise, and that's the radius of this mold right here. This mold is at a radius of 45 3/4. This piece you just saw me took off has some springback, but when I put it on here, it fits perfectly. There's no rocking whatsoever. In other words, this is sprung back to the radius that we need. There's a tiny little gap there. Okay, you're not going to hit the nail on the head all the time. The wood works in its own mysterious ways sometimes, and there's differences between boards as well as between species. So, but you'll come pretty doggone close. So. There's a precision arc. Now, let's talk a little bit about glue up. Let me move some of this out of the way. Like most shops, I don't have nearly enough shelving. All right. Somehow, could you hang on a minute? I've lost a clamp, and I'm signaling at Mary Jean. Yeah, if you go in there, there's plenty of clamps on the clamp caddy that we made for Sawdust section number 12. Okay. I'm going to glue these 6 pieces of wood together to make a curve. Now, the first thing that you want to do is you want to think about the width that you want to end up with. In this case, I want to end up with something that's 3/4 of an inch wide. So I have planed down all of these boards so that they are something less than 3/4 inches when I mic them. As a matter of fact, this is reading 0.742. It's 0.08 off, this particular stack is, and that's because the glue will take up some of the width. And if I go over here, where did I put that piece I just glued up? Here it is. And I mic that, I'm at 0.752. So the glue added 10 thousandths. So each of these boards is just a whisker thinner than an eighth of an inch. Now let's think about stability. these boards are pretty straight. The grain slope in them is pretty straight. They come from mostly rift and quarter sawn boards. So, but if they came from plain sawn boards, I would be alternating the cups in and out. So bark side in, bark side out, bark side in, bark side out, that sort of thing, to get them as stable as I need them, or as stable as possible. Now let's go through here and pick one that we want for the outside. Ooh, that's a nice candidate right there. There's a knot in that one, so I'm going to bury that towards the inside. That's another nice candidate there. And I believe I'll use this one for the outside and this one for the inside. Okay? And put this outside down here. I need to get my cauls ready, and I've got my clamps ready. Now I'm going to take this clamp and open it up a little bit. Now, as I glue up, I'm going to do two things. First of all, I've got to spread the glue evenly here. Now, I'm going to take a brush, but I'm not going to. This is a threaded rod. When I wrote my book on gluing and clamping, I went up to the Franklin glue people who make Typon, and they showed me this trick. They said that I said, well, what's the optimum threaded rod? What do you need for the best glue coverage? And they said a 3/8 inch fine thread will give you just the right amount of glue to make a 3/1000 thick glue joint. I use a regular common thread, coarse thread, simply because it's hard to find those fine threads, and also I believe in putting a little extra glue in there. Sometimes it's a whole lot easier to get glue into the joint before the glue's dried. After the glue's dried, if you didn't use enough glue, it's hard to add it afterwards. Now, I was so busy wagging my tongue there, I forgot something else that I wanted to show you, and I'll go back here and do that. It's not that difficult to do. Got to take this off though. Stick that up. Alright. In my pocket I have two tiny pieces of 60 grit sandpaper. I'm going to put a little grit in there, line this up, the same here. A little grit there. Now, that, when I clamp this together, will prevent the sliding and sledding and hydroplaning that goes on when you try to glue something up, especially something layered, as we all have experienced before. These assemblies get really perverse when you put the clamps on them and just start walking this way and that on their own. And if you forget to wash them, you'll end up getting these things misaligned. So by putting a little bit of sanding grit in between each one of these things, it's not going to interfere that much with any sawing I may do. Okay. Yes, it will wear out my cutters a little faster, but not overly much. As you can see, I'm not using that much grit, and And yes, it will bite into the wood, but it's not biting into the wood any place that it's going to be seen. So basically, it's worth it. All right, up, 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 up. Almost began. Wagging my tongue. Okay, this is the last glue application. I've got 6 boards here. You need to make 5 glue applications in order to do this. Glue up. There we go. Now, I'm going to put that against here. Remember, this is waxed, so I don't have to worry about the squeeze out. This is not going to stick. And I put the cauls on top of it. This is why I had to make the wedges, by the way. You know, this thing is not going to conform to the curve that these were originally cut to, and I've got to be able to lay them out straight. All right, let's clamp the first one. And I'm just going to put enough pressure there that I start to see some glue squeeze out. I'm not going to put a whole lot of pressure at first. Same way with the next one and the next one. We'll go in order here, pressing the boards down onto the mold as we go. See it beginning to take on the curve. It's holding nice and even. None of the boards are sliding because of the grit in between. Last one. Okay, now let's tighten these things up. And that's all there is to it. In 2 to 8 hours, I'll be able to take this out and probably I have to wait at least 24 hours to begin working it. You could work it after 8 hours, but it's not a good idea. It can come apart, and of course the longer you leave it in the clamps, the less messy it's going to be when you start scraping those glue beads off. So let me put this over here to dry, cure, and let's talk about the panels. The panels are a different ball of wax. We did laminate bending on the panels, but we did it with a different type of jig. And let's see if I can take this out and show you. This, as you can see, the curve of the panel is that we needed is the top here of this little box that we built. Drew installed a bunch of pegs on the side of the box, and each of the panels has as its core 2 pieces of Baltic birch plywood. This Baltic birch is curved so that we make it flexible, and that it's easier to bend that way. In addition to the curves, this is also 1/8" Baltic birch, so it's going to hold the curve a little bit better. Now, the top and bottom of the Baltic birch, well, we put on just a Nordic. Obviously, this doesn't fit. We've sort of hit our stock of walnut veneer pretty heavy these last couple of weeks, but we put a piece of veneer front and back. The reason for this is in any layered situation like this, where you have layers that are going in opposite directions, as we do in the plywood, you want an uneven number of layers. The middle layer, because the plywood is going in the same direction, and the 2 outer layers, the veneer plus the veneer on the plywood, are going to count together as a single layer. So there will actually be 5 layers in this plywood rather than the 8 you would think about when this is all glued up. But anyway, this is the sheet. Now, instead of aliphatic resin glue, which is yellow glue, we've used a powdered plastic resin glue. It's a formaldehyde base. And the reason for this is that aliphatic resin glue has a way of telegraphing through the veneer, and may interfere with the finish on the outside. This won't do that. It may come through, but it will not interfere with the finish. This is made especially for veneering projects. And we haven't glued this up, obviously. Once you're ready to glue, give this board a coat of wax. Keep the glue from sticking. Lay down your plywood and veneer sandwich. Put a piece of wax paper over that, and I've made this piece of plywood as a caul. It is flexible and will conform to the curves on here. Now, as clamps, we're using just simple pieces of inner tube. I went to a friend of mine who has a tire business, and he gave me a bunch of these old inner tubes, which Drew then cut into strips. And as he was cutting them into strips, he discovered something that is pretty important, and that is that these things get filthy while they're on cars. Wonder why? So he wiped them off with some naphtha, and now they're good and clean. But you don't want that filth getting on the wood. So if you do make your own clamping straps like this, remember to wipe off the rubber. The other thing is they don't have to be strips of inner tube. You could, if you want to, go out and find surgical tubing. That certainly would be clean enough. In fact, that's what we looked for at first, but found that it was pretty hard to find. That this is an equally good solution and readily available. You could also use cargo straps. Those elastic cargo straps would do this just fine. But anyway, and one of the nice things about this is you can build up as much pressure as you feel you need just by adding more and more and more of these elastic straps. So And you'll notice that that tying them down is fairly easy. All you have to do is put the strap under itself, and it holds the tension. Okay, there. I can keep on doing this, but you guys get the drift. This is all clamped up right now, and now this powdered plastic resin glue will take longer to dry than the aliphatic resin glue. I won't be able to, if this were glued up, I wouldn't be able to take this out of the clamps until tomorrow. Also, if I take it out too soon, because this is mixed with water, it causes the veneer to swell, and Drew noticed that when he first put it in the clamps, the stuff had actually bubbled. There were waves in it because the veneer was expanding so rapidly. And we found after when we let this dry overnight that those went away, and the bond was perfectly seamless. So you just need to leave it there until it's reasonably dry. By the way, heat. If you want to put this is one of the few glues that where the curing process can be speeded up by the application of gentle heat. So if you want to put this near a vent, it not only helps the glue cure, it helps the water dissipate. There you go. That's it. Pretty simple procedure. You've got a little math and a formula that'll be useful for many years in the future. And believe me, that this little tip about the sandpaper is worth its weight in gold.